Welcome back, everybody. My name is Peter Nelson, and I'm here to guide you in everything you need to know about jewelry. Today, we're going to be talking about this ring right here. Well, not this ring exactly. This is a practice ring that I did for that ring. And the reason I needed a practice ring is because this is the most complicated ring that I've had to do to date, at least from an engraving point of view. And by the end of this video, I hope that you will understand how some things that are deceptively simple are in fact devilishly complex. So let's get into the weeds. Now this ring was made for a client of mine that reached out to my email. And they wanted something fabulous, which of course is right up my alley. So what we did first was we decided on the stone that they wanted. We chose out a nice red spinel. And this particular stone is in a marquise shape. So once we chose the stone, we talked about design. My client and I both have an interest in Eastern styles of art, and I've been enamored for a long time with the Oriental archery rings. Now, for those of you that don't know, Europeans oftentimes will draw the string of a bow with these 3 fingers, 2 fingers, depending on the draw weight. But in the Oriental style, they shoot with their thumb. Whether you're talking about from Turkey or all the way over to China, there's various types of rings that are basically a trigger to hold the actual bowstring. So rather than 3 fingers, you just need the thumb and 1 or 2. So this ring has a curve on it, and then there's a lip. And this is based off of the Turkish style of archery rings that they call jigger. So when it sits on your thumb, the string can lock in place on this ledge, and then when you let go, it pops in a nice crisp way that allows the arrow to fly very true. And particularly because they were horse archers, this was actually really important. So rather than give you too much of a history lesson, just let you know that this is based on that design. And if you look at the Ottoman designs or pre-Ottoman Turkish designs, you'll see a lot of really ornate versions of these archery rings because they also became a symbol of power. Same thing is true in China with the Manchurians. Some incredible jewelry. And my client and I agreed on the basic idea, and because there is such a large face on this ring, it gives us a lot of space to do some engraving. So this was going to be my feature ring for some of the engraving patterns I've been working on over the past several years. So the first thing that we did was I sculpted out a wax, got it cast first in silver, cleaned it up, and that includes checking the master model for any casting defects such as this little pimple right here. If that was left in, it would crack this beautiful marquee because it's got those delicate edges at the corners. So in the master mold, we clean it up, making sure that we get all those defects before creating the subsequent mold, which is basically just a silicone mold that we pour around this master, and then we can go on to cast that into wax as many times as we like. And then we made a huge mold. And the reason for that is because what I needed was an original master that I could practice on, and then later we would cast it in 18-karat yellow gold. This is a pretty hefty ring in gold. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't make any costly mistakes. And so even though there's only one piece of jewelry here, there's no other components that I have to put together, the thing that makes this ring more difficult than any of the other rings I've had to do is that there are compound curves. So not only does the ring shank go like this in one plane, a curve on this direction is already difficult, but as you get up to the face of the ring, it curves in another direction. And the thing that you have to understand about engraving is that as the graver is contacting the metal, it's only at a certain angle that it will actually cut forward. If it's too shallow, it shoots forward. If it's too steep, it just dives in and doesn't do anything. And so as you go up the shank, you have to be very careful to maintain that angle. So once you get to these complex curves that go over the face of the ring, you have to be very careful how you orient your engraver's block, because otherwise you destroy your pattern. And let me tell you, having this practice ring was not enough. I had to go over it twice, filing off my work to make sure that I got a chance to get enough expertise on these compound curves before going and doing it again on the 18K. So I sent one of these off to my client to test fit, because once we got this engraved, we don't want to cut into it to have to do a resizing, so it better fit the first time. While that was going on, I was practicing and working through the design that we wanted on this second silver ring that we cast from our mold here. And then once we finally settled on the design, I could polish up the 18-karat ring. I could begin to do some of the engraving on the shank side, working up towards where the stone would be. But then there comes a time where you have to set the stone and do the remainder of the engraving. And let me tell you, sweat and bullets. Because as you're engraving, remember I said if you didn't get that angle just right, it just shoots off? Well, if the stone is there, and you make contact with that stone because of your mistake, which one's going to survive? I don't want to find out. Huge amounts of stress. But if you take your time, breathe, and carefully make your way forward, bit by bit, we get there. And surely enough, we did. So after setting the stone, gathering our courage, and gradually working through the engraving, here's the final outcome of the 18-karat yellow gold and red Spinel archery ring. Now, this was a long time coming. I was so very grateful to my client for being patient with me in this process. And for those of you that are asking, is this handmade or is this custom? Now, remember, this is a cast piece. So according to the law, this is a custom piece of jewelry, not handmade. But you see how much work went into making it come alive. Yes, I was touching with my hand a lot, but because it is cast, with this injectable mold, if I wanted to do many pieces, I could. So that's what would qualify as custom. So for those of you that are interested in custom or totally bespoke handmade pieces, head over to gemshipper.com, where you can also get on my mailing list and see some of the projects I'm working on separately. The members of that list get to see the pieces that I'm working on first and get the first opportunities to buy. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments section below. Hit like, hit subscribe, tell all of your friends about me, and until next time, bye-bye.